Our New Testament reading today is from Luke chapter 17, verses 11 through 19. It's the story of the 10 lepers cleansed. Now, on his way to Jerusalem, Jesus traveled along the border between Samaria and Galilee. As he was going into the village, 10 men who had leprosy met him. They stood at a distance and called out in a loud voice, "Jesus, Master, have pity on us." When he saw them, he said, "Go show yourselves to the priest." As they went, they were cleansed. One of them, when he saw that he was healed, came back, praising God in a loud voice. He threw himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him, and he was a Samaritan. Jesus asked, "Were there not 10 cleansed? Where are the other 9? Was no one found to return and give praise to God except this foreigner?" Then he said to him, "Rise and go. Your faith has made you well." This is the word of the Lord for the people of God.
Thanks be to God. Dear God, give me the ability to convey your thoughts rather than just my thoughts. Help lead me towards the path that we need to go today. In your name I pray. Amen. So, I'm not going to be able to stand behind there. There are pastors all over the United States today in Presbyterian churches taking this opportunity to ask you for money, to thank God. Now, that is never a bad idea, but that's not what I'm going to talk about today, believe it or not. You can give the money, but I'm not going to talk about that because in reality, I don't think this passage is really what that's all about. I'm going to start this by talking about a cartoon named Finn and Jake. You know, years ago, I sat with my 18-year-old now, he was small, watching a show called Finn and Jake. Doesn't matter if you've ever seen it. It was just these 2 cartoon characters fighting evil week after week, trying to make their kingdoms better. So there's Strip and I sitting and watching this, and they get finished dispatching this creature, and Jake turns to Finn and says, "How did you know it was evil?" And Finn said, "Because it was ugly." All right, I'm very disappointed in the few of you that saw the humor in that. All right, the fact is, that's how lots of us from the early history until now kind of think. And in fact, these lepers that Jesus healed did not necessarily have the leprosy that we think of when we think of leprosy today. Imagine how lucky we are to live in a society where we know, or somebody knows, just about something about everything that can kill us. I mean, we understand that now, but back then, they had no idea what was killing them. Things that they couldn't see were killing them, besides all the creatures and everything. So, imagine having an ailment that you could see. These people had outward displays of their evil. So they didn't necessarily have leprosy, but they had something that you could see that was the manifestation of how evil they were. So, as you can well expect, they would separate them because they were afraid that they could in fact hurt them also. They separated them. And in fact, if you've ever read the Bible, you know, you hit Genesis and you go, yeah. You hit Exodus and you're going, man, this is good. Maybe a little long, but it is good. And then you hit Leviticus and you kind of jump over that. And you go to Numbers and you go to Deuteronomy and then you go to the New Testament. Thank goodness we get some good news. But obviously, most of us don't ever spend the time reading Leviticus as we should. There are so many rules, so many. And one of those rules is that those people with leprosy need to leave the group. get away. And in fact, they need to put on old clothes. And if somebody without leprosy starts getting close to them, they need to go, unclean, unclean, unclean. It was impossible to have a life. They could not go to the synagogue. They couldn't take part in anything that was going on there. So they were truly desperate. The Pharisees certainly did not want to have anything to do with them, even if their rules said that they couldn't. They still probably didn't want to, which makes this part of Jesus so special, because obviously he wanted to help them no matter what was wrong with them. He wanted to help. The fact that one of them was a Samaritan, Samaritan. We hear about Samaritans all the time, kind of, well, not all the time, but from Jesus on a couple of occasions in the Bible. Normally we think of them as being bad, but the ones we come into contact with seem to be pretty good. They're not bad people. There was the Good Samaritan in the parable, and certainly this Samaritan that returns, throws himself down on the ground, thanking God for having saved him. But where did the Samaritans come from? Why did the Jews hate them so much? Well, if you had been here in the summertime, one of my children's time was having to do with siblings. I don't know if anyone was here for my siblings sort of thing, but I did siblings looking for good ones a couple of weeks in a row, because there's a lot of bad siblings, but very few good siblings. Two of the good siblings were siblings called Manasseh and Ephraim. Manasseh and Ephraim. They were so good in a time when other people were so bad that they basically got tribes of Israel. And they took that tribe to the place, where the Samaritans would be. That area. Really fertile, really nice, a really great place to take your people. The problem is, it's really fertile, really nice, a great place to take your people. So the Assyrians decided that they would come in and take that part of the country. Take it away, right? So how did they deal with those people? Well, they took away everybody that had any power at all. Any money, you take them out, you deport them. And you bring in a bunch of Babylonians. And that's what they did. These Assyrians brought Babylonians in and sat them right down on top of this tribe of Israel. All right, so what happens over a period of time? They sort of get together. Certainly the religion of the Jews gets sort of watered down because these Babylonians are not Jews. So as the Bible moves on, these Jews are saying, no, they're literally calling them half-breeds and all sorts of things that are just unacceptable. And Jesus does not accept it. He doesn't. He doesn't look at them as being worse. He doesn't look at them as being any less needy. He just looks at them as people, in this case, of God. So when this guy comes back to Jesus, this Samaritan comes back, lays himself in front of Jesus, and Jesus tells him, what does he say? He says, get up and go. Get up and go. You have been saved by your faith. Get up and go. There's only get up and go a few times in the Bible, and lots of them end up being amazing. What does Mary do when she finds out she's going to be pregnant with the Son of God? She gets up and goes to see Elizabeth. That's what it says. God tells Paul to get up and go to Damascus because something incredible is going to happen. And in fact, Jesus looks at this guy, this Samaritan, and says, get up. You have been saved by your faith, which I just think is a wonderful part of that sort of, that feeling. Because what do we learn from Jesus saying, get up and go? What do we learn? We learn that sometimes we can be disappointed by our own family, by those other 9 people that were part of this Jewish family. But this outsider, someone not in our family, someone from another place, from beyond the borderline, he comes in and he is good. He's good. So if we can learn anything, sometimes we can be disappointed by our family. But let's look at those outsiders. Let's look at them and stop thinking them as bad people, as, no, you stay out. Come on in. You can be one of us. You know, I think that's enough stuff, don't you, Sam? I think that's 3. I was told 3 topics, Ken. 3, that's all you can do, because I can go on forever. So, thank you.